This is my corn snake Einstein, and I've had him for over 7 years. And today we're going to talk about the good, bad, and the ugly about this beautiful animal. This is Animal Spotlight. Today we're talking about Pantherophis gutatus, also known as a corn snake. If you're looking for an animal that is good with kids, always active, and regularly eats, this is the snake for you. Now first off, we're going to start with enclosure size. I currently keep my corn snake Einstein in a 40-gallon glass terrarium. This enclosure is going to get a big upgrade this upcoming summer, so if you want to see that, stick around. In this enclosure, he has many things to rub up on and hide in or underneath. Things such as cork bark, pieces of rock, and a big fake tree. Now for young corn snakes, you are going to want to keep them in a slightly smaller enclosure like a 10-gallon or a 20-gallon enclosure. Now you will need to upgrade your juvenile or hatchling corn snake eventually, so I would suggest getting a 40-gallon or even a 4x2x2 reptile enclosure. We're going to move on to the hides and enrichment of our animals. For the number of hides you have, I prefer to have 2 or more. More is always better to give the animal plenty of different places to hide because that will make them feel more secure, but usually they will prefer one over the other. You should also add plenty of enrichment items like leaves and branches and potentially even fake flowers like I do, because just like you and me, animals get bored. Adding these enriching branches and leaves and all that kind of stuff gives another thing for the animal to explore and seek out in their enclosure. Next, we're going to move on to heating and lighting. I use an under-tank heater to get my animal's hot spot around 80 to 85 degrees. But when using a heat mat, please ensure that you have a thermostat on the heat mat because most times they get way too hot for your animal and can cause burns and potentially even kill your animal. If you don't want to use any under-tank heating, a basking bulb is completely fine. Keep it, again, around 85 to 88 degrees. I like to give my animals an LED bulb to help regulate their day-to-night cycle. It is not required, but I highly recommend it. Next, we're going to move on to substrate and humidity. The ideal range for humidity is about 40 to 60% for the enclosure, but especially in winters where it gets colder, I would suggest adding a humid hide because the air naturally gets a lot drier in the winter times. So if you want to create a humid hide for your animal, it's pretty easy. Just cut a hole in the container and put some sphagnum moss and dampen it, and your animal will love it. For the substrate, I use aspen snake bedding. You can also use other things like cypress mulch and coconut husk, or even a naturalistic substrate which is bioactive. Next, we're going to move on to food. Corn snakes are fully carnivorous animals, and in captivity we tend to feed them different stages of mice. For hatchlings, I would suggest pinkies, which are day-old mice. For juveniles, potentially fuzzies or even a little bit bigger hoppers. And for full-grown adults, just one big mouse. Corn snakes are a colubrid species, which means they have a lot higher metabolism than other animals. Boas and pythons tend to have a lot slower metabolism than the colubrids do. So for an adult, I would suggest every around 10 to 14 days feed them their meal, or for younger animals, because they will eat more often, around 5 to 7 days or anywhere in between. Depends on how big your animal is. Next, we're going to get to my favorite thing, handling. You can hold your corn snake about any time other than shedding or about 24 to 48 hours after feeding. Corn snakes are great beginner handling animals because they take almost nothing to get them puppy dog tame. Now, don't expect your animal that has been sitting in its enclosure and hasn't been picked up in 5 months to think you are not food. Corn snakes, like many colubrids, tend to be a little bit more food motivated. So when you open their enclosure, they're going to think you are food and not a friend. So if they're coming at you with a feeding response, I would suggest giving them a little poke on the nose with a snake hook, or better yet, a literal pole. Now, like many people, you're thinking, how much are these animals going to cost and what are their availability? Well, nice thing is corn snakes are everywhere in the reptile hobby. You can get them from anywhere from $100 to $1,000. There are a lot of different color morphs, like Einstein is an albino, so they are plenty readily available, but don't think the $100 you're going to put into actually buying the snake is all you're going to spend. Like we talked about in this video, there is the enclosure, the hides, the feeding, the water dishes. All that stuff is expensive. And most likely the enclosure you put your animal into is going to be double, triple, or even quadruple the amount of money you paid for your corn snake. And do I think these animals are good pets? Absolutely. Well, that is going to do it for this week's Animal Spotlight. And if you want to see what crazy cool things I build for Einstein in the next coming year, subscribe.